Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois, and I'm here today with 3 alternative cards to this month's paper pumpkin kit, which is called Hello Spring. We're going to get started right away. I hope you like the cards. Here we go. Here is the kit called Hello Spring, like I said. It comes with a petunia pop ink spot, one of my favorite colors. And of course, like I always say, turn that brochure over. Make sure you have everything that comes with the kit. And if you don't, then contact Stampin' Up! So they can make it right. I just realized as I was getting ready to start this video that I don't have the sheet that now comes in the kit that lists the stamps, and that if you wanted to, you could store the stamps in. So I am going to reach out to Stampin' Up! About that. And then, as they've been doing for the last year or so, there's an add-on die set. It is called Spring is in the Air, and 2 of the dies that come with the kit, or come with the die set, coordinate with this month's kit. The rest coordinate with last month's kit and next month's kit. So we will be using both of those dies today in our cards. All right, let's get started. Here is the first card I've designed, and I did 2 different variations because I used the Thoughtful Journey Memories and More card pack. That's where these come from. And the way I have designed working with the alternatives, you can make 3 cards, because what I do is cut the card bases in half. And so you can use the first half to make the cards as they come in the kit, or if you wanted to, you could make more cards like this. But in the Memories and More card pack, you get 2 of each of these, 2 of each card that comes in the pack. So if you wanted to, you could make 4 cards. So hopefully that makes sense. So we are going to make this one today. So I'm going to put this one aside and we will get started right away. As I typically do, I'm starting with a basic white card base. I did not use a thick one because it's going to have some good layering on the front. So I didn't think it was needed. And then like I said, I cut a card base in half. So here is one half, here's the other. Sometimes there is a little crease. I don't think it's on this one, actually. I think it's on this one. So you can barely see it where the crease is, where the fold goes. And so I just used my bone folder and I pressed it down, turned the card over, pressed it, turned it back to the front, pressed it again, and it pretty much gets rid of it. You can hardly see it, and I don't think anyone would notice. But this is the card base. This one doesn't have a ridge, so this is what we're using today. I'm going to put that on with some multi-purpose liquid glue. We'll put that to the side to dry a little bit and adhere. I have cut a piece of Lost Lagoon. This is 3 1/4 inches by 4 1/4 because the card is 3 inches by 4 inches, and here is that. As you maybe noticed, I put the Lost Lagoon piece kind of at a slightly different angle, and I do like this one better. I like how it shows more of it, so we're going to go with that kind of look today for this card. So we're really going to put it at an angle, and we'll put that on right away with some seal. And mine is about to run out, so I may have to put a new one. There it goes. So I will get a new one. All right, so we'll finish putting that seal on. And like I said, we're going to turn it at a pretty good angle so that we make really good use of that Lost Lagoon. You could too, because it's at an angle, there's a great stamp that you can use to add texture. So if you wanted to, you could do that first, stamp some on there and then put it down. But we're going to use that on another card, so I'm not going to do it on this one. The Sending Love sentiment comes from the kit. And like I said, I didn't have my insert, so I wasn't able to show you what comes in the kit. But if you have yours, you know that anyway. And we're going to stamp that in Petunia Pop. And hopefully I will do a better job than I did on the first one. It really didn't quite, there were like spaces because I was using it for the first time. I should have done a practice run, and I did not. So I do recommend that, because sometimes there is Oh yeah, much better. Sometimes there is residue on the stamp and you don't get that off till you clean it the first time. I usually give it a really hard scrub with my Stampin' Scrub and Stampin' Mist, and then that usually takes care of it, but I forgot to do that this time, or for the first one, but I did it for this one. And so now the next thing we're gonna do, we'll stamp the inside to a wonderful friend while we have the Petunia Pop. We'll get that out of the way. And we'll stamp. So I love that, sending love to a wonderful friend, that it continues on the inside, the sentiment. And then we're going to continue our stamping. So I'm going to bring in Lost Lagoon as well. And I'm going to bring in an envelope too, because we're going to stamp the chives, which is another stamp that comes with the kit, on the inside and on the envelope, as well as on a scrap to use on the front. So if you notice, it does say chives here, but I did not want to include that on this card, so all I did was put it toward the edge of the ink pad and ink it up, and then make sure that that C, sometimes I got a little bit of ink on there, and so I made sure that that was gone, and then stamped it here. And then we have to re-ink every time. So, and I'm just making sure it has good ink. And we'll do the envelope. And then one more time. And now I have a scrap of Lost Lagoon. And we'll do, I think I'm going to put a little more ink on the top of that. And we'll stamp it here. And then that gets cut out with the dies. So let me show you kind of in person the dies. So this one and this one coordinate with the kit because this cuts out this. So it cuts it out without the wording anyway. And then this cuts out the flower. And that is why I left out the Petunia Pop ink pad. And I've got a little scrap. I may need another one. Let's see if we can get 3 out of this one. We will give it a try. And we'll stamp that in Petunia Pop 3 times. Make sure I've got good ink on that. I think I can do it. Let's see. If not, I will get another scrap. So hopefully there's enough room in between that I can cut out all 3 of those, but well, I'm going to do that in a minute, because first I'm going to stamp. These go together. I'm going to cut those out in a minute, but first I want to stamp. We're done with the Lost Lagoon. We'll get that out of the way. We're going to stamp this one 3 times on the envelope so that it all coordinates. And that's done. And then 3 times on the card. And so the stamping now is done. And I'm going to cut out the images that we stamped here, put the ink pad away, and be right back. And now that I've got my images cut out, we will continue with assembly. These were a little bit close together, but it still worked. I am going to go with that. I did not have to restamp anything, but you might want to leave just a little bit more space between them than I did. So we're going to take next the Lost Lagoon soft cording. And all I did, I cheated a little bit to save space. So I took some glue dots, and we're gonna put them right down about here, 1 on each side. Yeah, those are pretty much across from each other. And then I'm gonna attach one end of the cording, bring it across, give it a snip, and attach it to the back. It's very thick. It's gorgeous. So that means it is a little bit, it makes this a little bit thick, and so you can, if you wanted to, put this on your card with dimensionals, because let me tell you, there is a huge sheet of dimensionals. Let me show it to you. This is what comes with the kit. I've never seen such a big pack of dimensionals before. So you could do that, just bump it up because you've got plenty in the kit, but I didn't do that. I put mine on with glue, which is what we're gonna do. So, and all I did was tie a knot over on the left-hand side. And you'll see there's still gonna be plenty of room to tuck that die cut in. And I'm gonna do a square knot. So that it stays put, and we're gonna cut that. And so then, like I said, I'm gonna take my multi-purpose liquid glue, we'll put that on next, and then put the rest of the die cuts on. So I'm putting that glue right over that cording, so then it's got adhesive on both sides, because it's got the glue dot on one side and then the glue on the other side. And this one was a little crooked, so I'm going to try to make this one a little straighter. That's pretty good, I think. Straight and centered. So you really want to press down on this because, like I said, it is very thick. So you want to give the glue time to catch. So it's pretty good here because it's flatter. This one, and even this is, it's coming up just a touch, but it's not bad. And then for this, I'm going to use my Stampin' seal. And like I said, we'll just slide it right under here. And I moved it over, way over to the edge, because I don't want the flowers to interfere with the sentiment, but I don't think it will. And for these, I'm going to use my glue dots. I put a couple on each. And it's meant to have one here. And one here, because you can see there are flat sections, so that's where the flower is meant to go. And then I added a third because odd numbers are pleasing. I actually used only 2 on the first one, and that was because it really did interfere with the sentiment. I'll bring it back in to show you. Maybe we'll put this one up here. So if I had put one here like it was meant, it would have covered the sentiment, and I didn't want that, so I just put the 2. But on this one I have the 3. We'll give that another press. And then the only thing left is to add some bling. For that I'm using the two-tone sparkle gems. So pretty. This is the first time I've used them, but I love the way they coordinate really well with this card. And I used just the larger of the 2 sizes and scattered them around. And the other one we'll put up here. Draw your eye around the card. So a little bit different placement, but you get the idea. You make sort of a triangle so that it draws your eye around the card. So that is card number 1. And the only other thing that I used in addition to what I showed you already, the Thoughtful Journey Memories and More card pack. So I'll show you some of the images. As I said, you get 2 of each. And they are double-sided. Love that. But I really wanted to use, here's the thank you that I used for the first one. So I wanted to make sure there was Lost Lagoon in there that would coordinate with the back, and some of those didn't have it, like this one. So, and then there are different images on the back. But again, you know, they didn't necessarily have the Lost Lagoon, and that's what I was looking for. And then there are larger ones, of course, but while those are great for cards, they wouldn't work on this one. But just to show you, really useful for making quick and easy cards. This would work well on a scrapbook page. It says the best day ever. And then of course, these are also two-sided. Treasured memories would be great on a scrapbook page. Making memories. So these really would work for either one. But that is what I used. And that is card number 1. Here is the second card I designed. And I used my inspiration from the card that comes in the kit that uses that same card base, because they had 3 different panels, and so I used 3 also, but I changed the orientation because I really wanted to make it a little different, and I didn't want them to overlap, which you probably would have to do if you did it the other way, in the other orientation. And I just used stamps and the twine from the kit. So let me show you how I did it. This time I started with a basic beige card base. Because I knew that coordinated with the front. And again, cut the card bases in half. So you can either make 6 of these, or you can make the cards the way they come in the kit, or even do other alternatives. And the same thing, this one does not have the little edge. And I don't think this one did either. But like I said, if you wanted to, you could just flatten it out with your bone folder if it did have a little bit of a crease from the fold. Grab my glue. And then this time I used the Something Fancy dies. So I cut 3 of those. So on the middle one, I just stamped Hello Spring, because I thought this made a really nice spring card. So I'm going to grab, again, my Petunia Pop. And we will do Hello Spring in the middle. And then I also need my Lost Lagoon and my Lemon Lime Twist ink pads, because I wanted to mimic the die cuts that come with the kit. Let me grab one so I can show you. These are some of the die cuts, and you can see they're two-toned. So this uses the Lost Lagoon and the Lemon Lime Twist, and these we are going to use on the other card coming up, but you can see they've done shading. This is Old Olive and Lost Lagoon, and this is Old Olive and the Lemon Lime Twist, but I was going for this look. So that is what I did on this card. So to do that, I needed my sponge daubers. And I have one that I used for the lighter color, the Lemon Lime Twist, and one for the Lost Lagoon. So we just dab on a good amount of ink, and I just put it on the middle of the stamp. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Lost Lagoon, ink it up, and use it on the other parts of the stamp. And you can have some overlap. Again, I did not use the word chives. And I know I just got some ink on there, so I'm going to make sure I take that off before it goes on my project. And I inked it a little bit over to the left. And so it gives that two-tone look. And then I'm going to do the same thing again for the other one. And the nice thing is you can just rinse. I just rinse my daubers underneath some water and press on them with my finger to get all the water out and to get the ink out. And it works really nicely because, as you saw, this one looked like new again, and this one was very light, so it works like a charm. And we'll put that over here. And I'm going to do it one more time. I did it on the inside of the card as well. So we're going to do that one more time. I also did it on the envelope, but I won't do that on camera, just to save a little time. And it's harder with the lighter colors to know that you have good coverage. So practice first on a scrap and then till you get the hang of how much ink you need. That works well. And there's our third image. And then we needed, I used the petunia pop for the sentiment and for the flowers, but for the Hello Spring, actually we're gonna do something a little different. I used Lost Lagoon stamped and then stamped again before re-inking and then re-inked and stamped again, but we're gonna use the lemon lime twist, I think, on that middle one and see what that looks like. So here is another stamp that comes with the kit. So we'll do this. And then we're done with the lemon lime twist. And then we're going to clean that stamp and then use it again like this. And then I turned it around the other way up here. So we are done with our Lost Lagoon. And to finish our stamping, we're going to bring these back in and we're going to bring in that little flower that we used on the first card. And we'll stamp that. Oh, that's right. We're not going to stamp it yet because what I did was take a scrap and stamp off first. And then I stamped it on the card because I wanted that really soft look that went along with the inking that we did for the chives. And then the same thing on this one. Just make sure you stamp off every time. And then one more time on the inside of the card. It's very hard to do this sitting down. And then all we have left is the sentiment. So I did To a Wonderful Friend again on the inside in the petunia pop, and this is full strength. So our stamping is done. And now we'll continue assembly. So I laid these out and I wanted an equal amount of distance between the edges and the middle. So you might have to play with it just a little bit. About like that. So then I put these on with my seal. And an equal distance on the bottom and the side. And don't press them in until you're ready to commit. That's my advice there, so that once you know they're all straight and where you want them, then you can press down and help the glue to adhere. And before I put this down, because actually I'm not going to use my seal, I'm going to use my dimensionals, but I also, well actually I did put my seal on first. And that was to give the twine something to catch on. So I've got the twine from the kit and I just wrap some around my hand like this 3 times. And then we're gonna cut it right here and then we'll rewrap it. That was the easiest way to do it with one hand. And so we will go through a lot of twine doing it this way, but I did like the way it looked, the way it coordinated with the rest of the card, keeping that kind of tone on tone going with the softness of the inks. And so we're gonna grab it like that, and the 2 edges are gonna go underneath. So let's see, I don't know which way this is, right side up or upside down. So it'll just mean that the it's in the opposite orientation, but obviously that doesn't matter. Do whatever you prefer. And then I'm going to grab some dimensionals, and I actually use the edges of my dimensionals. So I've got some here, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to take the edge here, and we're going to put it right down the middle because we want those. It helps the twine to adhere, and it helps it to keep it popped up in the middle. And then I think for this, I'm going to cut it a little bit. And we'll use that one here. And this one here. And I'm going to grab another sheet, and I think we'll use the edge here. And we'll put it here. So that way they run, like I said, all the way across the twine. It helps it to stay adhered. If you don't want to use your strips, you can still use the actual dimensionals, but I would put them first over the twine and then fill in. I'm going to take the paper off. And now we will center this side to side and top to bottom. And on this one, I didn't use any bling. I couldn't find any that I really thought coordinated well enough, so I did this one without bling. So that is card number 2. And this is my third and final card. Again, using one of the card fronts, but also using one of the die cuts from the kit, because one of the cards called for 4 die cuts on the front, and I am all about the odd numbers. So I felt like I could spare one, and I decided to go with this one because I thought it coordinated best with the card front. So just like with the other 2 cards, I cut the card fronts in half. And let me see, I think this is, yes, this is the card front. And so here I used my bone folder. That's where the crease was, and I flattened it with my bone folder. We are again starting with a basic white card base, mostly because there was white in that die cut. And we'll put this on, make sure it's going to fit nicely. Put it on with some multi-purpose liquid glue. Making sure, of course, that it's in the right orientation. You don't want to put it on upside down. And then we'll put that aside. I again use the Something Fancy dies for the sentiment. Here is the die cut from the kit. And then I actually used a couple more of the leaf groupings from the envelope. So let me show you what I did. This is what's left from the inside. And I just sliced off the bottom really close to the bottom, and then tore this apart and opened it up. And these flaps have a bunch of these, and anything that was complete I cut out. I got 7 of them, and I will say this one was a little bit cut off at the top, but I still am going to use it on a card. So just using these 2 flaps, you get 7 of those, like I said, and you can use the inside, which is this part, on another card. And I actually used the flap to stamp off when I needed to. So that's what I used on the second card. I stamped off on that little flap. But let's get going on this one. We will move this aside. And these are the components that I need. This time I'm going to bring in my Old Olive ink pad, since that's the main color on this card. Again, using that Sending Love sentiment. And we're going to ink that up in Old Olive. And stamp it here a little bit to the right. Oh, I got a little bit of a shadow there. So we're going to restamp that. I've got another one handy here. That's the nice thing about cutting the die cut yourself. You can cut as many as you would like. Much better. All right, so we've got that. And then I again use that background stamp, this time all of it in Lemon Lime Twist. And I kind of stamped it all over, kind of from right to left. And turning it right side up and upside down. And I know some of it's going to be covered up, so I left that blank. And then for the inside, I put To a Wonderful Friend in the old olive. So we'll move that out of the way. And so our stamping is again done. And now we just finish assembly. So I wanted this whole thing to be centered. So that tells me about where it needs to go. I'm going to put seal on the bottom of the sentiment piece. And kind of do the same thing, lay it out. I think that's pretty good. And now for this, I used my dimensionals to bump it up. I think I will use that extra piece I had from the last card. And we'll put a couple more. And we'll take the paper off. And then adhere it here. And so for these, I just am going to use some seal on the back. I'm just going to decide how I want to do it this time. This one's bigger. I think this will go here and this here. And so I just put these on with my seal. Kind of tucking it behind a little bit so they overlap. And you can see this is from where the envelope overlapped, but it didn't matter. You can't tell from the front. So that is okay. And then this will get tucked underneath here, I think, like that. I really wanted some overlap on the actual die cut so that you could see it and it wouldn't get lost in the background since it's the same kind of color and pattern. And then all we have left is bling. And this time I'm using the Adhesive-Backed Sequins Trio, the white ones. I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool again. And this time I used a larger one here and then two smaller ones. Again, drawing your eye around the card a little bit. And that is card number 3. They're all pretty quick and easy, especially once you have everything cut out, the die cuts and the fussy cutting from the envelope. And you still, because you get so many from the envelope, you can still use some of the actual envelopes to send your cards in, which is nice too. All right, so let me show you too what else I used for this. I used the Something Fancy dies. They always come off from this. They're very well loved. So you can see you got a lot of different ones. Some leaves and tags. Could have even used the leaves. I didn't think of that. But I used this larger tag for this card, and I used the middle-sized one for card number 2. So you can see it's just a little bit smaller. And so that was this one. So that's everything that I used extra. And then let me bring in all of the cards. So here again is card number 3 and card number 2. And then card number 1. So that is it. That is everything. I hope you like them. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you watching every month. I love it when you leave me some love in the comments. Take a look at my other videos, home decor items, tips and techniques, beginner videos, scrapbook pages, lots of other cards. So hopefully you'll find a lot there that is useful to you. And if you do, leave me some love on those videos if you watch them as well. Even if they're older, I still check all the comments. I think that's about it for now. Take care, everyone. Happy stamping.